Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. The postcards from this episode will be viewable on Instagram at Sent from Disneyland or on my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. Today I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in and receive mail from my desk or for my trips to Disneyland. I'm currently working on some new patron benefits. Patrons can sign up for as little as $1 per month. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Joe Gamble, Scott Booker, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Mary Henderson, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Ruby McDowell, Grace Coate, Scott Cagle, and Ben and Noel Bruning, B-ticket patron The Disney Rewind Podcast, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Claire Voigtlander, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angelica Nablock, The All Aboard Podcast, and Ana Fiches de Lectores. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has Sleeping Beauty Castle with guests crossing the drawbridge. You can see the Matterhorn, and if you look closely, you can see 2 of the white swans swimming in the moat. On the back it reads, Sleeping Beauty's enchanted castle stands guard over the entrance to Fantasyland, sharing the skyline with Disneyland Matterhorn. It's postmarked August 10, 1961, with an Anaheim cancel and a 3-cent purple Liberty postage stamp, Scott number 1035. I assume they visit the park on Wednesday, August 9th, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 79 and a low of 63. Park attendance that day was 33,049. It's addressed to a Mrs. Hazel Stees of Media, Pennsylvania. It reads, Our family is enjoying a month's vacation in the West. We have seen some beautiful sights and are now enjoying the marvelous attractions of Disneyland. We hope to make it to San Francisco. We'll write a letter later. Caroline. For this episode, we're going to take a journey into the recent past, and I'll give you a trip report from Disney Nurses Day. Scott, who's a friend of mine and is at Disneyland Nurse on Instagram, wanted to do something special for the other members of his profession, and had a day where nurses, who are also Disney fans, could get together. Following trends of other unofficial Disney days like Dapper Day, Adventureland Day, Tiki Day, or even Lyme Disease Awareness Day, Scott built a schedule of specific meetups and photo opportunities that would not affect the daily operation of the park. Starting off, though, prior to the event, Scott had a logo designed and took some pre-orders for Disney Nurses Day branded shirts. Nurses and nurse supporters began sending in generous monetary and in-kind donations to the event. He had enough funds to make over 500 goodie bags and held a raffle for the other prizes. I personally contributed a Disney Nurses Day postcard to add to the goodie bag. Event participants also received a Nurses Day button, an ink pen, a sticker, a few coupon codes, a $5 Starbucks gift card, a retractable badge holder, and a piece of candy in their bag. The day before the official festivities, participants could meet at Trader Sam's next to the Disneyland Hotel to pick up their bags, enter the raffle, and sign the guest book for future events. I arrived just after the start time of 4:30 and saw a large crowd. I stuck around meeting people and having a tiki rum. I was amazed that within 2 hours we went through 300 bags. The next day there was a similar bag distribution at the Disneyland Hotel in the Rose Garden. I arrived just after 7 a.m. There were already a handful of people waiting to grab their bags. The gazebo, where some Disney weddings are held, was used as a meet and greet for Scott and for everyone to sign the guest book and enter the raffle. We were done after about 2 hours, and I headed into the park to have breakfast at the Red Rose Tavern. The presentation of my usual breakfast has changed from being arranged on a plate to being dumped into a bowl. I had what used to be known as the Mark Twain with bacon, when the breakfast was available at the River Belle Terrace. They've swapped out the country potatoes for tater tots within the last year. During that hour, the Disney Nurses Day Instagram went live with the raffle, with the additional prizes, including a trip to Walt Disney World. I then headed for the first park meetup for Disney Nurses Day, the photo in front of the castle. There were probably around 600 people in front of the castle wearing teal shirts and or customized nurse mini-ear headbands. We took our photo and dispersed around the park. Mostly people got in line for lunch at the Plaza Inn. I sat down and helped distribute the items to the winners. I distribute the raffle prize items to the winners. I also got to see the Disney World prize winner learn that she won. The text that she received only relayed the message that she was a winner and to come at noon to pick up her prize. Following the Plaza Inn prize distribution, Scott and I walked over to the first aid building and met the nurses there and dropped off some goodies, Starbucks cards, and a stack of postcards. Just a heads up, Enfield Post is currently only working with wedding planners and stationers for wedding postage orders. But if you want to add just a little bit of flair to your wedding invitations, you can always order directly through her website. I personally love the vintage red 25-cent airmail stamp. It could add just the right amount of color to your envelope. You can head over to enfieldpost.com and explore all the different vintage postage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and enfieldpost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the Mark Twain passing Cascade Peak around sunset. On the back it reads, Mark Twain, Rivers of America. Homeward bound from a trip down the frontier rivers of America, the stern-wheeler, Mark Twain, churns by the thundering falls of Cascade Mountain. It's postmarked June 28, 1971, with an Anaheim cancel and a 6-cent gray Eisenhower postage stamp, Scott number 1393. I assume they visit the park on Sunday, June 28th, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. The weather was a high of 76 and a low of 64. It's addressed to a Mrs. Grace Ringsage of Portland, Oregon. It reads, Sunday, June 27th. Dear Mother, beautiful day at Disneyland. We are staying 2 nights with Dave Rhoda. His folks are in Taiwan. We leave in the morning for San Diego. Dorothy took us to Yamato's Japanese restaurant and to Ghirardelli Square. She says she's going to ask you to come stay with her during the fall or winter for a few days. Love, Bonnie. I chose this postcard for a few reasons. It was amazing to see the nurses come from all over. I had a nurse at my party from Taiwan. She was surprised by the goodie bag and for being there on the day of the event. This postcard is similar to a postcard from last week, sent to and from the same people. I also chose this card because the next planned event was to meet up and ride the Mark Twain at 2 p.m. Nurses crowded the dock and ended up on all levels of the ship. My one regret is not sending up 2 photographers, one in New Orleans Square and one on Tom Sawyer Island, to snap photos of a boat filled with Disney nurses. After the trip on the Rivers of America, the group dispersed again. I headed to Rancho del Zocalo for my favorite lunch and mostly worked on postcards for the rest of the day. Stopping by all the Disneyland and Disney California Adventure mailboxes, I ended up sending out at least 148 postcards. I sent a few to nurses who reached out to me on Instagram who could not attend the event, and one to a nurse in Australia who is also a family member. Towards the end of the night, I rode the Mark Twain to complete my postcard writing. Finally, the last event was a group watch of the Main Street Electrical Parade. Less people made it to the 10 p.m. meetup for the 10:45 parade. Throughout the event, I got to meet some great people, some who I've talked to online over the past years, and met some new friends along the way. I hope I can make it next year, and would suggest any nurse to attend, or anyone to attend to support. It was a fun day, and because of the number of nurses and their variety of specialties and expertise, it was mentioned to be the safest day at Disneyland. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. I watched some of the replay of Monday's ATD that's hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. I missed most of this week's ATD from being in the park. I almost popped on Thursday to mail my ATD postcards from mailboxes in the park. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has Chip holding a wooden bowl, while Dale is stealing a nut away from a Tiki holding another wooden bowl filled with nuts. Above them reads, Nuts About Hawaii, and below them reads, Aulani, Ko'olina, Hawaii. On the back it reads, This card is handmade from 2 pieces of 1 220th inch thick veneer, 100% Hawaiian koa. It's not postmarked, but was sent with a 2017 seashell postcard postage stamp, Scott number 5166. It reads, Aloha, sent from Disneyland. Enjoying our time on Oahu and at Disney's Aulani Resort. Today we drove around the island and made several stops seeing many different sights. We ended our day at Aulani, eating and shopping. Sincerely, Scott and Fatima. Thank you so much for the postcard, Scott. I've had this unique wood postcard for a while now, but wanted to use it for this episode to congratulate Scott on the wonderful Disney Nurses Day event. I look forward to it next year. I'll have to start looking around for inspiration for next year's Disney Nurses Day postcard. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/SentFromDisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent from Disneyland or on Twitter at Sent from Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.